A very good morning and welcome to Biz Talks. I know you've been waiting for this conversation about brewing in Kenya, and we have Eoin Flinn in the house, the CEO of 254 Brewing Limited. And he didn't come with a six-pack, but you know what? We're having some tea to keep ourselves warm. Eoin, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. And this is a little bit of an interesting story because we have had what I might call a monopoly in this country where we only know beer comes from a certain companies, maybe one or two. And so this must be one of the, if I may call, a bold step for you to come and almost give a disruption. How has it been though?
Just a stupid step, but we've been having fun, yeah. But we didn't even realize.
Okay.
EABL has actually 94% of the beer market.
Oh, so when you started doing care, you just started?
Well, of course we knew it was the main
Okay.
beers, but we just didn't really realize what a grip they had on the country. So
okay.
we learned.
Before asking more questions, that's okay, that's all right. There you have it, guys. So please tell a friend to tell a friend that we are live. I think I'm just checking in. Some guys was just saying hello and really looking forward to this. I want to give just Eoin a moment to sip some tea as I get more of you guys to get in. Thank you so much for all. Now, well, let's proceed on with this conversation. Let me know now. Of course, you say something stupid that you're trying out, but that story is important for guys to see because it's a story of many entrepreneurships when you start. Did you start this thinking of business, or was it just personal? How was it?
Well, I was involved in another startup before this called Burn Manufacturing, which makes Jiko-Koa. I don't know if you ever saw it. So that was a great experience for me where I started, I was a co-founder of a company and starting off a business in Kenya.
Yeah.
And then I just thought, okay, let's do something now completely independently. So it ended up being beer, but
yeah,
probably could have been other things. I like beer, so I thought we were lacking in variety in the market here. So,
which is a story of many people. I mean, trying to venture in. But how long now have you been brewing, if I may use that word?
Well, we started we started the company in February 2018, and we got licensed in January 2020. So the licensing process took 2 years. By my count, it was the 8th brewing license issued in Kenya in 100 years.
So that was a success for it to have come out in 2 years. Okay.
So that was a grueling process. You have 12 departments of government in Kenya that you need to get through. We call it the 12 gates of hell. And we got through all of that. That was February 2020. 3 weeks later, we had our launch party on the 6th of February 2020. And 1 month later, the COVID lockdown came along. So it's been feeling like one thing after another since we started.
Roller coaster.
That's life, you know.
Yeah, you're right. How is the reception like from your customers with your brands?
Very good. That's the easiest part of my job is the customers, you know. But the hardest part is getting to the customers, you know.
Yeah.
Because the majority of bars in Kenya kind of basically function as, I would say, franchises almost of EABL, you know. Because they'll be paying for so much of the infrastructure, whether it's chairs or umbrellas or, entertainment, DJs, fridges and so on. So it's hard to get visible in most bars. So we kind of end up screening, naturally screening for, really independent-minded bar owners that are interested in different things,
Okay. I know there's so many questions to ask on that, but let's talk about your distribution so far. Where can customers access your products so far?
We're in all of the Carrefours and Chanaranas.
Okay.
Most Nivases, maybe most Nairobi Nivases, and then maybe half the Nivases across the country. And we're in about 100, 120 bars and restaurants around Nairobi. You can come to the brewery in Kikuyu.
Yeah.
We have a bar there, which is a lot of fun. Then we opened a second bar last year in Westlands, just across the road here, called the Beer District. We do a lot of live music there. That's a lot of fun. And yeah, then we're in just like...
Okay, so a day like today, Friday, is a day when guys are having some good fun there in the evening.
Yeah.
Anyway, so speaking about distribution, and you just elaborated that it came from a lump because of the COVID season and the likes, which a lot of businesses, 90% of businesses were affected. How has it been now? Are you seeing a growth path, as you're continuing on?
Yes, we're still growing, and we want to keep on growing. Funnily enough, I think COVID, in funny ways, COVID had some advantages to us. We were never going to pay any attention to retail or e-commerce, whereas when COVID happened, those were the only ways to sell to people. Yeah, right. So now when the bars reopened, we had some new channels on top of a good foundation of retail. But in terms of the economy, this is the worst year that we've,
You've had.
2023 has been the worst year, I think, for consumers. Okay. Consumers are the most stretched, it seems. Yeah. The costs are really up. The Kenyan shilling has taken a beating this year. Our raw materials, our barley and hops is all in euros. So all those costs have gone up 30%. The taxes have gone up. The price of glass has gone up. Everything's up, whereas purchasing power is down. So, I'd say it's a tough year. Our motto is stay alive till 25, because we expect 23 and 24 to be equally rough.
It's the story of many. This year has been quite tough, especially with the new introductions of new taxes and the likes. Yeah. Interesting you mentioned, so some of your raw materials are imported, right?
Everyone that makes barley beer in Kenya has to import barley. It's one of the few countries in the world that you can't actually buy barley on the open market. Again,
we don't have farmers doing that. I thought we had.
There's lots of barley being grown, but you just can't. You can't. They're all under contract to EABL. So there's a company called EAML, East Africa Malting Limited, which, but they don't sell to small players. In South Africa, SAB would sell to the small breweries, which even then might be a blessing and a curse. Sometimes the small breweries would say, "Yeah, well, we've run out of barley and we can't get any from the big dog." But here, the big dog just shuts everybody out. So everyone, even Croce, have to get their barley from Germany, France, wherever. So we hope one day we can start malting in Kenya, because it's ridiculous that we're importing. But we have to do that at the moment for barley,
Now I have a follow-up question on that, because we're constantly saying how we need to create jobs and do all these things. And we have land in this country. Are these licenses binding that nobody else can plant and grow barley, or what's the story behind it?
You can grow it, but in order to make beer out of it, you need to malt it. And to set up a malting operation, the smallest malting operation that we could feasibly set up would be about $500,000 investment. So somebody has to do that.
Okay.
And then we wouldn't be able to, at our scale, we wouldn't be able to use all that barley. So the only way we could do it would be to raise $500,000 and get all the other small breweries to also subscribe to, not contribute, but just to use the barley, to buy the barley, So that's on the list of things to do.
Let's talk about your working force. How many guys are working with you?
Well, we have 3 companies, including the Grounded and Booch, as I was telling you, and then with the Beer District. So we have a lot of shared services across the 3. So we have 120 people on payroll in total.
That's quite a number.
Yeah.
And of course, there are many others who are indirectly as well benefit from your products, the distributors, the guys with the bars and the likes.
Well, definitely, the more you could actually unlock small beer producers, you could create a lot more jobs.
Okay.
Know?
For customers who would really love to try your products, how do they, identify, even know? I think you've said the Nivises, the Carrefours of today, they can walk in there and get some. But what are the brand names?
Even in Carrefour, it's probably hard to find because our beer has to be refrigerated. So our beer, if it's left out of the fridge, it'll actually spoil. So it's very fresh.
Okay.
We usually, like in Carrefour, don't do the communal fridges, right? So Carrefour want us to pay $30K per fridge per month to have a fridge in there. And at our scale, it doesn't make any economic sense.
Yeah.
So we end up in the bottom shelf of some EABL fridge and packed at the very bottom underneath behind the logo, and so you have to really dig. It's like a treasure hunt in Nairobi finding our beers. But I would just say to people, if you want to get beers, the easiest thing is just go to Chupa Chap, who's also Unga House here, like a couple 100 meters away.
Yeah.
But they deliver instantly anywhere in Nairobi, any corner of Nairobi. They'll get you very quick, and the beer is nice and cold. But yeah, Chupa Chap, Jumia, Green Spoon, any of those, Uber Eats. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I feel for you, man, because 30K per fridge, man, that would eat on your cost fully. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So what is it? Why wouldn't you? And I know I'm just putting you on the spot. Why wouldn't you, probably do something to make it, have a longer shelf life or something of that sort? Or is that your unique proposition to customers? What is it?
I told you I'm an idiot, right? Yeah. That would make life easier, yeah. But we really believe in fresh products, and that is why that's why we do what we do. We want to have fresh beer that's unpasteurized, unfiltered. It's probiotic. It's as natural and clean as beer can be, and you get the most flavor out of that, and least hangover, but you still get a hangover. Alcohol is alcohol, But so that's a big part of why we do it the way we do.
Okay.
It makes things a little more challenging. But.
Okay, I want to veer off now and get to learn or pick up a few lessons from you for business persons who as well going through. Of course, we have already picked a few more. I could tell resilience, because if I were you, probably most of us would have given up already trying to get a license, doing all those kind of things and all that. But what is your entry? What is this that you sit back and say, this is my line of challenges when I look at them? I mean, and if you wished you'd have wanted to wish them away, what are the challenges you're facing now? Looks like it's a bunch.
Yeah, it's. I would say our biggest challenge in the beer industry, our biggest challenge is tax.
Okay.
Kenya taxes beer at 3.5 times higher than it taxes spirits, right? So we're always talking about, why does everyone drink spirits in this country? It's because of tax.
Yeah.
When you buy a bottle of beer, any beer in the supermarket, the biggest cost of that is tax. The beer itself, the liquid, doesn't cost anywhere near as much to make. But the tax is very high, 142 shillings per litre on the production of the beer, right? So,
wow.
So that makes it really difficult, because we want to get the beer cost effectively to consumers, but it's really hard. And then, we don't want to sacrifice on the product quality, and consumers are tight, So, but of course, if I spent all my time lobbying the government, I'd be, you know, I'd be like a crazy person under the bridge by now. You know what I mean? I'd be. So, you know, in terms of how we focus our energy and on the challenges that are really in front of us, really is actually unlocking how to kind of plug into the Nairobi bar system as it is, you know, and how to actually get awareness to customers that we're here in this location, wherever it may be, and get guys to, you know, get beer to lips, and, you know, once guys get to taste and or just being aware that it's there, then the uptake is usually pretty good. So marketing and the logistics of the distribution systems, that's where we spend. That's what keeps me up at night, you know.
Yeah. The
production side is also full of challenges, but I think we are really on top of those these days. We have a really solid team of brewers, and the whole factory runs really quite smoothly, and everybody has a good time making beer. So that's the good part of it, and the real challenge is getting to market and navigating all that.
Yeah.
That world.
Wow. You know, one of the things that you've talked about is the spirit versus beer and the taxation behind it. And I'm wondering, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not experienced in this area. I thought the spirits is what a lot of people, even leaders in this country, are complaining about, that have messed up some people down there. It felt like maybe beer is way better than this.
It is, yeah. Of course, it's much better to drink a lower alcohol.
You're right.
By volume product.
Yeah.
It's going to give your body more time to process it. You're going to stay more hydrated. You shouldn't overdo it anyways with alcohol. But yes, it's an ironic part of the system that everyone is complaining about the boy child and alcoholism and spirits, but we're actually, the tax code drives everyone to spirits.
Something needs to happen then. I mean, we need to have a level playing ground, if I may use that. Let's talk about responsible consumption. And, you know, as you say, there must be ways in which whatever we're consuming, it's in a responsible way. Have you been tasked in any way to ensure this is happening, or do you have people who come with concerns about this?
For us to make sure that consumers drink responsibly? Not really. Like putting warning signs on ads and stuff like that. I mean, I think, you know, the way I see it is that, you know, I come from Ireland. We drink a lot of alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
I think by volume per head, we drink like 3 times more than Kenyans, something like that.
Yeah.
We drink a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't have social problems. We do.
You do.
We actually drink a lot less now than we used to, funny enough. But I think that alcohol is kind of scapegoated in Kenya a lot these days. The reason for the issues where people are, you know, jobless and going down the road into addiction, because it's not only alcohol, but there's a lot of dangerous drugs going around this country as well. You know, people need motivation, and so if you don't have motivation, if you don't have a good economy with jobs and things to do and reasons to get out of bed in the morning, then you can have alcohol or not have alcohol, but the underlying cause is not the alcohol. Alcohol is kind of like petrol on a fire, but you know, I would argue from the perspective of beer, you would create, you know, 100 times more jobs by actually not putting these restrictions on small brewers. The restrictions on me are actually minor compared to the restrictions on traditional Kenyan brewers. Mm-hmm. And there's thousands of traditional brewers around the country, and none of them are able to make any money at all. But they could be a huge source of job creation.
You're right.
You're
right. Wow. I feel like you're the soft target for the government. This is what they call sin tax, and anytime they wanted to get any taxes, they will come to you. I don't know, but I feel for you.
I don't know if you know that the brewery was locked up for 2 weeks in June.
Your brewery?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah. They said it was because our pipes were marked the wrong color. So
they locked it for 2 weeks?
They showed up with 5 armed guards and 3 plainclothes KRA officers, and they gave us a backdated letter that said our pipes are not marked the right color. And it was dated a month earlier, but they had not sent it to us physically or electronically, and there was they had no record of sending it to us. They locked the brewery up and they put seals on all the doors, and it took 15 days to get them to unlock us. And we're 100% compliant. We pay all of our tax. We pay a crazy amount of tax because, as I mentioned, the tax is 142 shillings per liter. So the tax on beer in Kenya is 200 times higher than what it is in Germany. And so we're here sitting there paying that tax. Meanwhile, 50% of spirits in this country are illicit, so they pay no tax at all.
Yeah.
The KRA will put its resources on shutting us down, who are employing people, paying our tax. They didn't even accuse us of not paying tax.
There's just pipes.
They just said our pipes are the wrong color, and we said, fine, what color do you want us to mark them? And they said, just please mark them according to the law. And so we look up the Excise Act, and what does it say about pipe markings in breweries? It says the pipes must be marked to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Domestic Taxes.
Oh.
So our letter is from the Commissioner of Domestic Taxes saying, please mark your pipes according to the law. The law says, please mark them according to the Commissioner of Domestic Taxes. So, the Kenyan law, the legal infrastructure is littered with these kind of gray areas and loopholes and stuff like that. So it's just a kind of a catch-22. But why would they, what's the mentality of shutting down taxpayers when half of the market is evading tax completely, and we're here, we're paying our tax, for a brewery. KRA have CCTV access in all of our brewery. They can watch us.
They can check it out
24/7. We go above and beyond to follow the rules, but then you don't really get rewarded for that.
So I'm curious. So what color was it supposed to be? I thought it was in the law. You should mark it green, maybe or red or something. Was it something like that?
No, for spirits there is some colors listed on the pipe markings, but for beer there's nothing. It just says to the satisfaction of the commissioner.
Oh, okay. Wow. My goodness, I'm just looking at questions coming in so that as we can get to start here. Someone is asking about how you manage such stuff. Now this is business, people wondering, you have quite a number of people. How do you manage all these particular persons?
How do I manage them?
Yeah.
Probably not very well, but we try. I suppose you'd have to ask them, but I'm definitely not a micromanager. I think everyone agrees on that, but we try to. I really believe in the youth, and I really.
So lunch
probably
population of your staff is young.
Yeah, probably average age is very young, somewhere probably between 25 and 30. And for some of the things that we're trying to do, there's no blueprint. You know, we can't exactly follow. We can't follow the sales model of EABL because it's completely different at that scale to the scale that we're doing. So on the sales and distribution side, I'd say we're figuring things out. On the manufacturing side, we kind of, my background is all in manufacturing, and I'm probably a little bit better at setting up systems there. But generally try to trust people, give people trust, give people responsibility. Usually it pays off, and of course, obviously, there's always going to be bad actors, and trying to let people go where before too much damage is done. But mostly, I think it's about giving people trust and giving people responsibilities. And I think the talent in Kenya is massive, but it's underutilized, and it goes to waste if people don't have things to do, and actually you lose the muscle memory. So yeah, that's probably.
What's been your, I almost feel like I've picked it, but what's been your lowest moment in this business?
Lowest moment? I mean, when we were trying to get the license, there was a couple of moments where I thought, like, this might not happen, so I remember you do a thing called a baraza.
Yeah.
And it's part of NEMA, basically, and we did that for the brewery, and I was so focused on all the KEBs and the county and the KRA and everything, I didn't actually pay attention really to the baraza, and I did a terrible job. I didn't prepare any tea or nothing, you know what I mean? And all the kind of chiefs came, and they were all talking in Kikuyu. I was just sitting there like an idiot, and I just assumed everything was going fine because I just thought that we're making natural beer, better, more premium option than what's there, and we're creating jobs. I just thought everyone was just going to wave us through, and Martin, our finance manager, was sitting next to me, and he was like, I think you better say something, like they're about to vote against us here. I was like, against us? Like, this is going down. And he was like, yeah, this is not going well. So so the guys actually voted against us, and this kind of old Mezé got up, and he went on a big rant about alcohol is the cause of all our problems and blah blah blah, and funnily enough, so I got up to address all the issues that were raised, and obviously. And in English, and he walked out of the tent. The minute I started speaking, he just walked out, and then he came back in. When I sat down, he watched me, and he came and sat back down and said, this guy's not getting the license. So, funnily enough, there was about half women, half were men in the baraza, and the men, once this guy got up on his pulpit, the men all backed him, and they all said, no, we voted no. And the women all voted in our favor. But there was more men than women. So we were still going to lose. And then the chief, he just, they did a vote of hands, and the no's won. And the chief just turned to me and he said, yeah, so just, you just do something else with this equipment, We've already had to build the whole brewery just to get to this point, so we're like 18 months in, we've raised a bunch of money from investors, built the whole damn brewery, and the chief is just turning around to me saying, just so maybe you can do something else with these tanks.
Well,
like, I'm like, they're beer tanks. I can't do anything else with them. And then But funnily enough, the guy, then they had to do it on paper, and everyone had to sign the votes. And the guy refused to sign. He thought it was a trick or so. He's like, I'm not signing that thing. So then when he refused, then all the other men who were going with him, they're like, no, I'm not signing that. No way. And then the women, all signed. The yeses, they all signed. So we got through. But that was the moment where I was like, oh, actually maybe. Before I always had the mentality that we just keep going, one foot in front of the other, you know.
Yeah.
But that day I thought, maybe this is actually the end of the line. But we were saved by the Kikuyu women, so.
It's actually interesting that women are the ones who saved you.
And then they all came back to the brewery and they're like, so, my son needs a job, you know what I mean?
No, you're right, and I'm sure you have most of them there, right?
I don't know, I think we did hire a couple, people,
Oh, which is good. What about a high moment, man, when you felt, yes, I'm doing something? Yeah.
High moment? Oh,
there are many.
Too many, yeah.
Choose one.
God. I don't know. We have a thing called the Nitro Stout. And in Ireland, like a Guinness is the Guinness that we get here is totally different to what we have back home. And it's a nitro. A Guinness at home is the Nitro Stout, so it's like very smooth and very creamy on top. So we made a Nitro Stout that is, it's like a taste of home for me. So when that came out perfect, the way, I've just been waiting for 10 years to have that in Nairobi, so that was a high. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. I mean, as we come to a close of this conversation, I'm curious to know a few more things as well, because business-to-business conversations really help in sharpening people. One of the things is how you managed to get investors on your board to raise funds, especially because starting such a thing is not a small feat. How did you navigate the cash story to start it off?
We're all friends and family funded. So we have like 35 investors in between like $10,000 and $20,000. It's actually very difficult to raise money from institutional funds in Kenya for alcohol because of IFC exclusionary rules. So any fund in Nairobi or in Kenya that has any DFI money at all, even they might be a very commercial fund, you don't think of them as a non-profit or something like that, but they still get some of their money from Bill Gates or USAID or whoever, and then they get subject to IFC exclusionary rules, which prevents investments in alcohol. So that's another thing which I think is kind of shenanigans, but anyways, it is what it is. So it's hard. We haven't raised institutional funds. It's on my to-do list as well, but also it hasn't been a great climate to do that in. So we try to just kind of scrape on by and just, we have a pretty low cost structure, so.
Okay. What would you say, speaking to the regulators today, the government today, I mean, so them could be watching, what is this that would enable you just have ease of doing business? And I'm sure the potential that you have of, when I look at some of the industries and what they're doing globally, I mean, the amount of employment that they have and the likes, which is good. What would be done?
Well, I saw an interview recently with the PR guy for EABL. He was talking about how they employ 1,200 people. And I thought that was shockingly low number. I just assumed it would be higher because we employ 120 people.
Yeah.
So that's only one. They only employ 10 times more than us. They produce over 3,000 times more beer than us, right? Wow. But they only employ 10 times more people. So when you think about the thousands of traditional brewers around Kenya, I don't know if you're aware about the kind of like modern day colonial restrictions that are on traditional brewers like Muratina brewers, Busaw brewers, you know. Those products are legal, you know. They're allowed to make it. The government agrees that they're completely safe for human consumption. They've never made anyone go blind or anything like that, right? Traditional beers.
Yeah.
The law says you cannot brand your products, you cannot retail, sell and trade, and you can't have gatherings at your brewery, right? So while I may complain about restrictions on me, at least I'm allowed to do business. Imagine trying to make a product and you're not allowed to brand it. So, you know, as a result, Muratina is pushed down into plastic jerry cans and considered to be a lowly product, when in fact it's a very natural, very uses the products from the area, creates jobs, and so if you think about small brewing at large and across the whole range of brewing, and you think about I think about 254 and how many jobs we create relative to the output of beer. I think you just multiply it across the country, you would create, you know, tens of thousands of jobs in the beer industry instead of, you know, 1,200 jobs. I think that, you know, I would love the government to take a long-term view on beer and realize that by growing the sector and not having one rule for people that make barley beer and a different rule for people that make traditional beers for no other reason other than it's a colonial hangover, you know. Why can you not brand a product that you can make legally, you know? It makes no sense at all. So they should really, really review it, and they should really look at, as I mentioned before, the fact that we tax beer 3.5 times higher than we tax spirits per unit of alcohol, right? And so what you could do something like Rwanda does, for example, which is you tax based on the percentage of alcohol, right? So the tax is per unit of alcohol. So 5% you would pay this, 10% you would pay double, 40% you would pay, you know, 8 times the 5%, and so on. And that would at least level that imbalance where, as of now, it's just driving everyone to cheap, dangerous spirits and illicit drugs, and that is actually a scourge on the country. But it's hard to imagine real change happening. EABL is the #1 taxpayer in Kenya, you know, over Safaricom. So, you know, it's a complicated situation, and you know, Diageo, who owns EABL, is really a spirits company, right? Globally, Diageo is a spirits company. It's only Kenya is one of the very few countries that they actually are involved in the beer. So, if the tax on spirits is too low, it might not change, right? But we're all aligned, and we're aligned with EABL in the sense that half the market pays no tax at all. Right? So it is, it's a complicated, as I said in the beginning, I am really an idiot for getting involved in this sector, but it's too late now. What are we going to do? You know?
No, you're right. Wow, this is quite interesting, and I didn't even know that this is the level at which we have demonized traditional, you know, beer makers, when we call it. But I don't know whether that's beer.
I always ask people if they've had Muratina, and people always say something ridiculous like, "Oh, I didn't want to go blind," or something like that. It's never made anyone go blind. You know, spirits make people go blind if they're badly distilled. But a beer, a fermented product, is natural, and it's not. It doesn't have the concentrations of heavy alcohol that it. And then people be like, "Oh, but isn't it that they mix Muratina with spirits, whatever?" I've never seen anyone do that. You could mix Tusker with spirits. You could, you know what I mean? You could mix 254 beers with spirits. So that has nothing to do with the traditional beer itself. It's just a silly thing. If you go, Muratina is very similar to Tej. If you've ever gone to Ethiopia, ask an Ethiopian about Tej, they'll tell you it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They won't think that it makes people go blind or anything like that. It's in Kenya that we have these kind of self-loathing, you know.
Of our own.
Yeah. Why we denigrate traditional beers is a tragedy to me.
What's the future like for you?
I think, you know, I think that at some point in the future, that playing field will change. It's not really my battle, but I know a lot of Muratina brewers that are keen to brand their products, develop their products, and they're, you know, engaged with the government on trying to lobby that. Never really gets a lot of airtime. But I think it's a no-brainer argument, and at some point, logic will kind of win out. And that's exciting, you know. I mean, I believe in 10 years from now we will have brands of Muratina on the shelves. You know, people developing rum from Kenyan sugarcane and mezcal from a Kenyan agave. You know, sisal is green agave. You know, and developing nazi into like packaged products and busa into different kinds of like you know there's all kinds of evolution that's actually waiting to happen. These traditional beers kind of got paused, you know, like 100 years ago, and someone just needs to press unpause, blow the cobwebs off a little bit. And I hope that 254, you know, continues to exist and exists in that kind of more diverse landscape where people kind of, you know, I could imagine like people coming to Kenya, tourists coming and like, you know, going on, you know, as they tour around the country, and then they go to a Muratina brewery in Kikuyu and see how that's made, and they go see how busa is made out in Western Kenya and stuff like that. So, I think it'll happen at some point. I'm an optimist, you know.
No, that's good. We need to. I'm curious to ask you, by the way, as we close now, any challenges on the cost of production? They have a lot of manufacturers complaining about the cost of power and the likes, and those on your in-tray as well.
Well, you know, as I mentioned, when you buy a bottle of beer, the biggest cost in that is tax. The second biggest cost is glass, labels, and a cap. The liquid is actually kind of the easy part, you know.
There's a question here. Globally, what would be the future of this kind of business for SMEs in beer manufacturing?
Globally?
Yeah, what would be the future of this kind of business for SMEs in the beer manufacturing?
Well, I mean, globally what happens with craft beer is that, you know, all these small players come up and then the big guys buy the little guys, you know? So I'd be fine with that, you know?
Have you got an offer?
Diageo, you can buy me. If you're not too mad at me after everything I've said here. But, yeah, you know, we'd probably like to sell the company at some point 5-10 years down the line, but we still have a lot of growing to do before anyone would.
Have you got any offers so far?
Offers? No, not really. I mean, people are always curious. I think people like the idea of owning a beer company more than probably the reality of it as we are today. But, you know, so I haven't had any serious offers. Nobody sent me any term sheets or anything.
There's another one here. Would you encourage young innovators to get into this business?
Well, yes, but you know, not as it is today. You know, it's very difficult. You know, I think that we were able to raise money, you know, from, you know, friends and family abroad.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have an ability to raise at least $1 million, operate and pay rent for 2 years, pay staff for, for 2 years before you can even begin the process of selling your product, then don't do it, But the landscape should be changed such that it's actually very easy to start up, And when it's changed, there'll be an explosion of job creation. But the landscape right now that's what beer has kind of taught me. It's a perfect example. It shows all of it highlights all of the problems that we have, whereby, we have just all of the products goes to one monopoly, which creates them at such scale that there just isn't enough jobs, as opposed to if those products were created by a much larger number of smaller businesses. I still believe in capitalism and all of that, but monopolies, 94% is too much.
Wow. I hosted a young man here who quite impressive, an innovator. Making some Java juice. Java juice. He's into manufacturing. Sarah? Yeah. An amazing guy.
My buddy,
yeah.
Great guy.
But he said one of the strengths he has is getting this to the retailers. I don't know what's your experience in getting this to the retail market.
With Mira, you have an even bigger challenge. We have to keep our beer cold all the time.
Yeah.
Mira is you have like 24 hours.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, what Sarek and others are doing in the Java Juice space, which I think is really cool and interesting, and it's a really interesting, unique thing that we have here. But they have a big learning curve over the next coming years to figure out the logistics of from the moment the plant is picked until it gets to a consumer maybe a month later. If it's you see what goes on with the Mira guys driving like bats out of hell to Wilson Airport every morning, right?
Crazy.
But that's because of the same. And they have once they pick it up in Meru, they've got like 24 hours before someone chews it in Somalia for it to be potent. So it's the same challenge. At what point you extract the drug from the leaves versus, and then how it's treated all the way along the process.
Yeah.
It need to be ultimately, the finished product would be probably like a drink in supermarkets that's frozen.
Yeah.
And you take it home and then you defrost it when you want to drink it, something like that.
Okay.
Because otherwise you only have 24 hours.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge there.
Yeah.
Your closing thoughts, man.
It's Friday. Let's all get out there and enjoy some beers this evening. Have some fun. Come by the Beer District, Kikuyu. Just enjoy yourselves, These times we're getting through it together, so.
So cheers, man.
Cheers.
The six-pack is going to come.
For the record, and the six-pack's coming this afternoon.
Oh, you just reminded me of a song that says that God is great and B is good. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a country song, but I'll send you a link. You'll check it out.
Yeah, I love good beer songs. Yeah.
There you have it. Oh my goodness. Flinn, speaking it as it is, CEO 254 Brewing, and the challenges. I like the authenticity of the conversation, and really we need to do something to ensure we have a level playing ground, especially from the government side of things, so that people who are really innovating and trying to get into this business are not having hurdles in the start. We need to have those tax breaks and help people, especially the young people, get out of these hooks of them not scaling up. Thank you so much for your time, bro.
Thank you very much for having me. Been a pleasure.
Alrighty. That's it here on B-Stokes. See you next time, same place. Bye-bye.